This is why I always tell people, like, you can't hug and kiss conservatives and like lean into their insanity. Okay, you can't do that. Like, that's not, if your goal is to actively decouple them from the whims of reactionary sentiment, you can't do that by compromising with them and telling them, like, you know what, honestly, you're right on this. Okay, you can't tolerate their intolerance, because their intolerance is inherently illogical. Their intolerance is not coming from a place of genuine concern, but pure anger. And oftentimes, it is a very apt mechanism of distraction and deflection away from the real vectors of harm in contemporary society. It's stupid. This doesn't mean that you should, like, I don't know, actively treat every anyone and everyone as though they're fucking Charlie Kirk. You know what I mean? Like a professional villain. But it certainly means that it certainly means that, like, stay true to your convictions and try to find areas where you do agree that do not pertain to shitting on trans people or shitting on black people or capitulating to white supremacist ideals. You can stay civil, especially when you're having a conversation with, you know, normal conservatives who are victims of propaganda themselves, understanding that they arrived at these positions due to so much social conditioning. Okay? Yo, you just said not to compromise. You need to be more careful with your words. Yes. Never compromise on your values. The fuck do you mean? Never compromise on your values and never capitulate to right-wing framing. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that you should also be antagonistic or aggressive to your fucking some random conservative person that you met. Okay? I try to play this delicate line fairly well to the best of my ability. You can find similarities, you can find shared interests, you can find areas of civility, you can find areas where you're in agreement. That is how you're supposed to do that. That is actually a very successful way, in my opinion, of actively de-radicalizing people. But the similarities that you find should not be centered around how you also personally think, yeah, some of these trans people are fucking weird and gross. Like, creating a permission structure to shit on trans people is fucking stupid. Because all of a sudden, now you're just continuously normalizing their attitude. You're giving them additional security in their bigotry rather than try to decouple them away from this bigoted way of understanding the world. Now, of course, Charlie Kirk himself is not, you know, a random conservative guy. He is actively working to create more random conservative guys and doing it fairly successfully. He is a part of a major machine, and his wealth and his prominence in this world relies on him successfully doing so, relies on him actively turning people more conservative.
So you got to know what to convince the American people of and what to hold your ground on. And the number one thing to hold your ground on is constitutional rights. So I'm going to do some...
Like the Second Amendment.
What? You said not to compromise with conservatives is about finding middle ground? No, dude. You completely misunderstand my point. Okay? You completely misunderstand my point. What do you mean finding a middle ground? Okay, conservatives say kill all trans people. What's the middle ground? You say kill no trans people. The middle ground is what? Kill 50% of trans people? In this hypothetical, do you find that we've reached a good compromise? Conservatives say mass deport every single immigrant living on U.S. soil. You say don't mass deport any immigrant living on U.S. soil. Is the middle ground that we just deport, what, 10 million migrants then? Like, the idea that there is a golden mean in every fucking situation is perhaps one of the most commonly misunderstood positions that people just slap on to every single instance where it doesn't fucking fit. Okay? It is so stupid. If the fundamental principles are completely flawed, you can't fucking compromise on that. Okay? No, it's about trying to understand why they think that way. Usually they have misinformation. It's about educating them by finding where they're at. What do you mean? Okay, you can't say it's about finding middle ground. Ironic, because you just started this process by saying you need to be more careful with your words. And then you literally went into a position that is entirely different than this. Maybe you should be more careful with your words, chatter. The fuck do you mean? You say it's about finding middle ground. No, it's about trying to understand why they think that way. Usually they have misinformation. It's about educating them by finding where they're at. Yeah, I don't disagree with this. And not only do I not disagree with this, this is something that I believe personally as well. I know where a lot of that that false belief comes from. I just described it. If you were listening to my words, you would have understood it. I said it comes from social conditioning. But it's not about finding middle ground. It's about finding common ground. And it's about reorienting people's anger to the appropriate vectors of pain. It's about recognizing where that harm comes from and then saying, I see you, I feel you, and I know exactly where it's coming from. It's not like one of the easiest ways to kind of just judo your way out of this argument whenever someone is being like hyper transphobic is telling them, like, it's not, you know, your manager is not a trans person, okay? BlackRock buying out the remainder of the available housing inventory is not conducted at the behest of big trans. It's not a trans person. It's not an undocumented migrant that's like your landlord that is causing you pain in your life. It's not an undocumented migrant that's your manager, okay? And even if they were, they're not doing that because they're an undocumented migrant or trans. They're doing that because that's the position that they have arrived at in society. Society has normalized this kind of infliction of pain. Yeah. People be like, I'm so mad that eggs are $8. And it's like, yeah, it's because of trans people. You know? It's the corporate structure. It's the fact that American Congress is bought and sold by corporations.
To hold your ground on is constitutional rights. So I'm going to do some...
Like the Second Amendment.
I mean, here, hit him back. Hit him back with the Second Amendment is a false interpretation. The modern understanding of the Second Amendment is completely at odds with the way that it was historically interpreted. And it was done at the behest of gun manufacturers. Go ahead. Don't let him fucking get away with that. Come on. Shaky Gurga. Why is he turning to a fucking Alan Combs in the Hannity and Combs structure here? I just, it hurts my feelings to see my uncle behave like this.
No, I know. So guys, look at that.
Oh, yo, can you bust this open? Can you start?
But we just...
You were asking for that one. I'm sorry.
No problem. No, but look, but that was an important moment because we totally disagree on that issue, but we just shook hands anyway. And you know what we'll do afterwards? We'll have a beer.
I have the two different satchels, but you'd have to loop it over a belt. What? I mean, we can loop it over a belt. Hold on. All right, let's get to the United Healthcare thing. While everyone is almost here, they've almost arrived.
Man accused of killing the CEO of one of America's largest health insurers remains in a new